Well, good morning. 6:38 coming up. We'll give you a chance at our free money question of the day. And how about the parade over the weekend? Huge numbers over the weekend for not only the parade, but then afterwards at the various locations. Right there's of course WIBX Street, which was huge. But then you have those key places that always do really well when it comes to post parade people. Like Packy's over there in Washington Mills and Piggy Pat's. Mm-hmm. Those places were both. People were literally walking out along Kellogg Road there, walking back and forth between the two places. They were both jam-packed on Saturday.
I had a chance Saturday afternoon. I was down on WIBX Street for a little bit, and it was a nice crowd. I can't remember a day where it was. I remember years past where it was warm, but there was always snowbanks melting in the road. Obviously, there was none of that this year. And I will say, I did not see anything about any brawls, scuffles, melees, which is, good job, Utica.
Yeah, I didn't see. I don't think there were any big stories.
That's good.
There have been a few situations, but I didn't see much about that at all over the weekend. Let's see. So, what do we think is going to happen here in these primaries? Of course, you have Hillary Clinton, who's expected to do well and finish off her coronation. However, Bernie Sanders is really making it difficult. There were great cartoons in the Syracuse paper yesterday. They went around and did all of the, there's 25 different newspapers across the country, and they did the political cartoons. There were some really funny ones. They almost all involved either Donald Trump or Hillary Clinton. There was one where Hillary Clinton was in a vehicle with Bill Clinton, and they're saying, why isn't this vehicle moving forward or something? And there is this tiny little vehicle that was blocking, and it was being driven by, of course, Bernie Sanders. Yeah, and some of the Trump stuff and the racist stuff and the violence and all of it. It was all depicted in the Sunday cartoons. There's also a great. There's an author from England that did an amazing Facebook post on why Donald Trump should not be elected president of the United States. And he just so happened to do it in 666 words. Yeah. So that was pretty.
Who figured that out?
Somebody put it in with a word count.
No, I know, but why?
I think
Why
the
not?
author probably did it.
The
on
author,
purpose.
yeah.
Oh, the author did it on purpose. Got it.
Oh, right. So when the author wrote the Facebook message,
okay,
he wrote it with 666. It was his clever little
got it.
Little after message with 666 words. And Donald Trump responded with one gesture. Larry David,
using one hand and one finger.
Larry David was back on SNL on Saturday playing Bernie Sanders in the skit. He did an interview about his campaign with Jake Tapper from CNN and went off on rants about random things. Another skit they did where a guy was getting sucker punched at a Trump rally doing a skit. Here, in this case, it was Ben Carson getting sucker punched. And there's one more little piece of political stuff that came out. On Friday, Hillary Clinton tweeted out a thank you to Nancy Reagan. So has anybody kind of thought into this? Do you know what we're talking about here? She tweeted out a thank you to Nancy Reagan for starting a dialogue on HIV/AIDS back in the 80s. And I remember that tweet coming out. It was, there was a news story about everybody, all the political candidates who tweeted out. Turns out that caused a bit of a ruckus because they never really, one of the things that came out of the Reagan administration is their inability to really ever deal with the AIDS issue. And it wasn't until the end of their 8-year term that they really addressed it. And by that time, people had died and many had been infected. And she I think, might have referenced, or the reporter did, a reference Nancy Reagan's good friend Rock Hudson, who, of course, died of AIDS. But it turns out that the real story behind that is Rock Hudson came to Nancy Reagan for help when he wanted to go to France to have an emergency procedure done. And she kind of turned him down. So it became a huge issue over the weekend.
No, I was just saying.
But my question, though, you have to ask: did she do that on purpose?
I don't think so. I think that it was done out of.
She just made a mistake.
A
former first lady talking about a first lady who was
trying to be
passed.
sincere and.
So you're giving her the benefit. I kind of wonder, because it opened up this whole dialogue of the difference between the Republican this Republican mentality versus Hillary's mentality.
I think she was kind of because
But it's a pretty big mistake to make.
It is a pretty big mistake. But remember, the conversation at the time that the Reagans were in the White House was still not the conversation that it is today about HIV and AIDS and gay rights.
They didn't. Apparently, the President Reagan didn't do a speech on it until 1987. Which by that time, people, 30, I don't know the number, but big
how
numbers
many had died, right?
Had died, and double that was infected with AIDS.
So President Obama had talked about Nancy Reagan and saying that she was instrumental in developing stem cell or in making stem cell research progressing. Yeah. And I think, that Hillary Clinton was just doing it in that same vein.
Well, let's do something different. Let's throw out AIDS, and without any knowledge of the fact that whether it was true or not. So.
Right.
And I don't know that, certainly at that time, I don't know that they would have been able to save any lives. The awareness would have been really important.
Yeah.
But I guess I don't understand. Rock Hudson had to put in a request to go for medical attention?
Well, apparently he was, at that point, there was really no, it was a death wish.
Right.
And apparently there was some treatment in France, and there was assistance that was needed, whether it would be some sort of visa assistance or financial, I don't know what it was. But he came to his friend Nancy Reagan, who really sent him off to another agency to get help, and some say that she turned her back on him. I don't know. I don't know what she could have done. You don't know what could she have done anything. He died just a few weeks after that. But I think that Clinton mentioned Rock Hudson in her comments, so she was a little bit off on that one. Everybody up in arms over that. 6:47. Here's Christine with an update.